freshman from Missoula, Sierra Dennison, and head coach Allison Lawrence. Coach, we'll start with you. A couple of top 4 teams in Missoula on the weekend, including the league leaders in Portland State. You get the upset win over them. You split the weekend. What were your thoughts on the 2 performances?
Thursday was probably one of the biggest nights for our program since I've been here for sure, coaching. And I was really proud of them and happy for them that they get such a huge reward for all the hard work they've put in, not only this year, but over the years. So that was a really special night, and really proud of our efforts and how we prepared. And Saturday, I think, is a good lesson in just being able to repeat the same level of intensity over 2 matches in a weekend. So I think there were moments when we found that, but I think just a little bit inconsistent on the second night against a really solid Sac State team. We know they're so consistent. They just get the ball back. So unless you're really in your highest gear, they're going to take advantage of you, which I think happened. I think just getting the split on that weekend was something we needed to do, and in the way we did it was unbelievable. Yeah, so I would be happier with 2 wins, but I couldn't be happier other than that.
Coach, the Portland State game was interesting because I think they had set point in the first and second sets, and then the team rallied back with like 4 straight points to take those first 2. So what did you think of your team's resiliency to kind of come back, not quit in those first 2 sets, and then it ultimately led to a 4-set win? Yeah,
it was incredible. And we designed practices to where we're having to come through in tight moments, but nothing's like the game. So I think just those are the moments we've been practicing for, and we've also been in those moments in the preseason and in matches prior to that, just with never that much at stake against a team that's has that kind of record and in the standings in that way as Portland State was. And so I think to come through, they should have the utmost confidence they can do that in any scenario ever. Really proud.
For both the players, just that game, what was it like, get a chance to beat the league leaders and, do that in fashion like that, where you had to come back a little bit, and then they won the 3rd set, and then the 4th set was pretty convincing. Just what was that moment like for the 2 of you?
It was really special. I feel like when we played them first earlier this season, I think we left their gym pretty dissatisfied with how we performed and how we wanted to show up against them. They held the top spot in conference for the past couple of weeks, so they kind of had that target on their backs, and we really wanted to knock them down. So I think heading into this weekend, we're really hungry to come out a lot stronger and actually show them what we can do and what kind of team we can be even against the league's top team.
I think kind of going off of what she said, I think part of that dissatisfaction came from not just the loss, because sometimes you lose to really good teams and it's a hard fought battle, but I think we knew we just had so much more to give, and we can play such a better game of volleyball than we did, and I think that's kind of what fed into the hunger for Thursday's game and the vibes and the energy that we had the entire day. I think we were confident going into that game, and even after losing the 3rd set, we were calm, and it felt calm, and it didn't feel like we had just lost a set. And I think that's kind of what allowed us to go and take that 4th set.
Now, Allison, you kind of touched on just kind of having that same intensity for the Sac State game. So how much is that the message this week when you're about to play the rival again, and you've already beaten them this year, so you don't want complacency to set in. So how do you, I guess, kind of preach that going forward to kind of get back that Portland State type intensity?
I for this game, my job's pretty easy in that way. There's nothing more intense than Griz Cat, and it just kind of gives you goosebumps when you think about it. So I think they've been fired up for this match since the schedule was announced, and I have no doubts about them showing up ready to go. But I think it's more getting that energy and excitement focused in an area that's really productive, because you can lose a lot of focus and put it in a lot of different places, and it needs to just be on us, on our side of the net, what we're doing, and then channeling it into a very finite place so we can all be on the same page. And they're so good at that. We've talked about that so much all year, and they're really good at doing that, so I'm excited.
There we go. Allison, it feels like, among other things, they've had an in-season coaching change. They've obviously changed in many ways like you have throughout the season. What do you feel like, does anything different stand out to you from the first match where you played the Cats as you kind of look ahead to Friday?
Yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence. They had a really strong weekend and swept this past weekend, and also they're in a different lineup. So I think after they lost at Eastern, they switched and flipped into a 6-2, and so our matchups will be different at the net regardless of what rotation we start in. Their blocking looks a bit different, and they have 3 options all the time. So they've got a really good pin core, and MSU is a team that runs at you, and they just play in a gear that's pretty relentless, and they're a good team in that way and fun to play in that way. But if you're not on your details, they can really run at you and run you over. So we'll be prepared for that, and I expect them to be playing their best volleyball right now. They're looking really good.
For both of you, growing up here, in different parts of the state, obviously, but what does it mean to you to play in this rivalry? And obviously, you've done it in their building. Now you get to come back, play here. How excited are you for Friday, just knowing what this match means to Griz fans across the state?
I'm pumped. I mean, Griz Cat, regardless on what side you're on, it's a legit rivalry. And I think getting to be a part of that and play in a match like that is so exciting. And I just know that there's so much energy surrounding that game. I think our team does a really good job at being able to use that and to feed into it and not let it be a distraction, because the amount of people that show up to that is pretty big. But I think coming from this past weekend, all good teams have their slip-ups, but I think one of our team's big strengths is being able to reset after that. So I think we're fully confident going into Friday, and we're just so excited to get to play them.
Yeah, I agree with Sierra, and I think there's just an added depth of coming from Montana. Sierra and I, we played together for a few years, and we played against a lot of girls on the MSU roster over the years. So and we all committed before our senior year, so it's kind of been years of playing against some girls on their team and playing together and kind of just developing that rivalry even before we even stepped foot in Adams Center. So I think there's just so much that rides on this game, and both teams love it, but it's really special for us, and we just want to come out on top this weekend.
To piggyback off that, Sarah, I remember, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your first start was in a Brawl of the Wild game, right? Was it in the COVID spring?
I don't remember.
I can't remember if it was. It was when they did the back-to-back games. Did you have I can't remember if you started or it was one of your. I thought it was one of your breakout games.
Hurt and I had to sub in as libero.
Okay.
In the middle of the game, was that what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was around that time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was you got a chance to do that, and then last year when you guys beat the Cats in Bozeman, it felt like it was kind of a late season momentum thing that you've carried now into this season. Do you you don't want to put more on games than you have to, but how big of turning points maybe was that last year when you won this to carry over to this year? How big can these games really be in the larger scope of the program?
I think that those games can mean a lot. I just think our rivalry with MSU is it just feels a lot different than playing other teams, and that intensity can be really fun, and I feel we utilize that in a really good way, and I think there's a lot of eyes on both of our teams because we're kind of I think we're both really solid teams in the conference, and I know that a lot of other teams are watching that game and knowing that that's probably going to be some of our best volleyball. So I think coming off of last year, the fact that we were able to do that in their home gym late in the season after having some ups and downs throughout the year, I think that kind of we look back to that game for confidence, and almost everybody that was on the team last year is back this year. So I think that game allowed us to go into this year really confident, and I think we set the goal of wanting to be 2-0 against the Cats, and we're using that game and just this season's success to build off of that.
One last one for you, Coach. When you played over there, they had a huge crowd, set a record for Big Sky Conference. How excited are you to see the atmosphere that Missoula and Griz fans bring on Friday night?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think Griz Nation always brings it. And it was wild over there. There was fire, there was smoke, there was 6,000 people. And, you know, they did an excellent job, but I've never worked in an environment like this where regardless of where we're at, home or away, we feel the presence of an enormous crowd of people that are behind us. And I hear from people through email and text, and I don't know, it makes me so proud to work here, and proud that our athletes represent that giant group of people so well. So I know they'll show up, and we're going to feel their presence regardless. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere as always.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Nice.